This is the NWI.com Political Roundtable Special Election Night Edition. I'm Robert Blaszkiewicz, Assistant Managing Editor with the Times, here with Doug Ross, Editorial Page Editor for the Times, and we're going to talk about the results, the very interesting results from tonight's midterm election.
And they are interesting. We have one precinct still out in Lake County at this hour, and it's, some would say, an ungodly hour. It's well after 11. With one precinct out, he still holds a lead by about, what, 667 votes or so?
You're talking about Hank Adams.
Hank Adams.
This is the Lake County Assessor's race, which we've been following all night. Very interesting. The race between the Republican Hank Adams and the Democrat Carol Ann Seaton. If Hank Adams holds on, this would be a historic win for Republicans in Lake County.
Absolutely. This would be the first time since 1950 that a Republican has been elected to countywide office in Lake County, and that would be I have two older brothers, an older sister. None of us were alive when that last happened, so that's historic.
It is. It is. What else was surprising, and what other close races have we seen tonight?
Well, there were two council races in Lake County that were worthy of note. There was Tom O'Donnell, the president of the Lake County Council, being booted out of office rather decisively. Yeah. Actually, by Dan Darnall. Dan is, of course, the guy that gets a lot of the credit for bringing the Little Calumet River Basin, you know, the flood control project a lot closer to completion. Sure. So, you know, he's been a guy to take charge and get things moving on that. So, you know, there's a Republican in that district. Of course, when O'Donnell took office, he took it from Lance Rice camp, so, you know, took it from a Republican. Yeah. Now it's back to a Republican. In the South County, there's still a Republican, just a different one in that district. Of course, Larry Blanchard's retiring from that, and Ernie Niemeyer is coming in, won a pretty good victory over Wendy Vandertook. Yeah. So those are two races where there were good candidates on both Democrat and Republican.
Sure. Otherwise, in Lake County, it was pretty much incumbents sweeping the rest of the races. Of note, we should mention that Lake County Sheriff, as expected, John Bunsich, the winner. But Porter County was quite a different picture for incumbents.
That was. Dave Lane held on as Porter County Sheriff. Not a huge surprise there, but really he was the only Democrat to win in this election. It was ours, you know, quite decisively. There was an upset in the council race with Jim Biggs, who was former county commissioner, ousting Bob Popperod. And Bob's, you know, done his time as council president too, and, you know, done some, you know, interesting things. So that was another race where there were two good candidates.
It was a good night for Republicans in Porter County. That's for certain. Wanted to make note also a school board race
well, there's a commissioner's race we should talk about.
We should talk about the commissioner's
race.
That's
the other Adams.
That's a biggie.
Exactly. Bob Harper, who was the big factor in this election as county commissioner, got booted out of office rather decisively by Nancy Adams. Sure. So, you know, she fought, you know, pretty strong campaign, and some would say, you know, there was a whole lot of negative campaigning in that race. But, it worked for her. Yeah,
it did. Wanted to also make note in Portage Township, the school board race, Terry Hufford, the longtime incumbent school board president, was defeated by Rhonda Nelson. So that's also an interesting result. Let's talk about the state races statewide. It looks like Republicans are going to take the state house, and the thing we're keeping an eye on is if they get a supermajority in the state Senate.
Well, that's true, because what this means really for us up here in Northwest Indiana, what control of the House means is that you could potentially see incumbents, Democratic incumbents, running against each other in a couple of years with the redistricting. Right. It's not without precedent. Sure. And it could happen again.
Sure. And it also it will be interesting to see how this impacts the last 2 years of Mitch Daniels' term as governor.
Right. I mean, he's got a lot at stake. If he's running for president, as everybody suspects, he's got a lot to prove. And, you know, if he can't get it done now with Republicans controlling both houses, win.
Sure. The perspective nationally, we saw some of the U.S. House races. Pete Blaszkiewicz, as expected, won, but by not as big a margin as he had in previous elections.
And that was big. I think there were a couple of reasons. One is, of course, Leva's got the name recognition, and it was the Republicans' year. But also, Blaszkiewicz been hammered quite a bit. He's been labeled by CREW, the Citizens for Responsible and Ethical, Washington, that group, that he was named one of the 26 most corrupt congressmen. And so, that's hurt him because of the PMA scandal.
Right.
So, that's one of those unresolved things that we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah. The Democrats did somewhat stop the bleeding in the 2nd district, where Joe Donnelly was able to fend off a challenge from Jackie Walorski.
That's key. There were 3 races in Indiana, 3 congressional races, where really the whole nation was watching these 3 races. There was the 9th, there was the 8th. Both of those went to Republicans, and then the 2nd, Donnelly stayed on. Not by as huge a majority as he would like, I think, but he beat Walorski. Walorski, this is worth noting. Walorski brought in a lot of really big Republican names. Yeah. If that's a big name in Washington in the Republican Party, she brought that person in.
Sure. And in the U.S. Senate, it was, I think the race was called right after the polls closed at 6 o'clock.
Exactly.
Dan Coates, an easy winner over Brad Ellsworth. That was as expected. Over the state line in Illinois, we're seeing Mark Kirk and Alexei Janulius in a very tight race. Last I saw, Kirk was leading that, but there were still some votes left to be counted. In the 11th congressional district, we saw an incumbent get knocked off in Illinois.
Right. Debbie Halverson, freshman congresswoman, had some really good campaigning and was successful on some veterans issues. Were her thing. But boy, she got bumped off by Adam Kinzinger. The Air Force pilot shot her down.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, and so those are among the seats that Democrats lost. They're going to lose the House. It's certain. And it looks, the last we heard, it looks like they are going to hang on to the Senate.
By a thread.
By a thread. So we're going to see a split in terms of control of Congress, the Republicans controlling the House, the Democrats by a narrow margin controlling the Senate. So what do we have coming up? Gridlock.
Exactly.
Gridlock. So that's what's happened on this very interesting midterm election. Thank you for watching, and as always, you can see more coverage of the election on NWI.com, and you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you.